The Galaxy Council had ruled the stars for 50,000 years. 12 ancient species sat in the Great Chamber on the capital world, making decisions that shaped the lives of trillions. They had seen empires rise and fall. They had crushed rebellions and ended wars before they began. In all that time, they had never lost. They had never even come close. So when the young species called humanity began spreading across the stars, the council watched with mild interest and nothing more. Humans had only discovered faster-than-light travel 300 years ago. They were children playing in a garden that belonged to giants. The council allowed them to exist because they were useful. Humans worked hard. They traded fairly. They caused no trouble, but they expanded too fast. High Arbiter, Vorlon, sat at the center of the council chamber, his ancient eyes scanning the reports. Humanity had claimed 17 new systems in the past decade alone. They built colonies on worlds that other species had ignored for centuries. They multiplied like insects. "They grow too bold," said Counselor Yevrix, his voice sharp with irritation. "They forget their place." Elder Morthex, the oldest member of the council, shifted in his seat. "They have broken no laws. The territories they claim were unclaimed. We have no legal reason to act against them." "Legal reason?" Yevrix laughed. "We are the council. We do not need legal reasons. We need only decide. These humans must learn humility. They must understand that they exist because we allow them to exist." Vorlon considered this. He had lived for 6,000 years. He had seen many young species grow arrogant before learning their proper place. A small demonstration of power was sometimes necessary. It was almost a kindness, really. Better to teach them now than to let their pride grow until harsher measures became necessary. "What do you propose?" Vorlon asked. Yevrix smiled. "They have a colony on Kepler 7b. 2 million humans live there. It is far from their core worlds, poorly defended. A single strike force could destroy it in hours. When they see how easily we can hurt them, they will remember their place. They will send diplomats to beg for mercy, and we will grant it generously. The matter will be settled." Morthax felt a chill run through him. "You speak of killing 2 million civilians to teach a lesson. This is madness. We should speak with them first. Open negotiations. Find a peaceful solution." "Peace is for equals," Yevrix replied. "Humans are not our equals. They are children, and children must sometimes be disciplined." The council voted. The decision was not unanimous, but it did not need to be. Morthax's objection was noted and ignored. Within hours, a strike force of 50 warships departed for Kepler 7b. The attack came without warning on a quiet evening. Kim Yuna was visiting her parents on Kepler 7b, and the sky turned to fire. She was a captain in the Earth fleet, home on leave for the first time in 2 years. She had just sat down to dinner when the first explosion shook the ground. She ran outside and looked up. The stars were falling. Except they were not stars. They were plasma bombs, hundreds of them, raining down from Council warships that hung in orbit like executioners. Yuna tried to reach the emergency shelter, but the streets were chaos. People screamed and ran in every direction. Buildings collapsed. The air itself seemed to burn. She watched a school disappear in a flash of light, and something inside her went cold and hard. She survived by hiding in a drainage tunnel. For 6 hours, she listened to the world above her die. When silence finally came, she crawled out into a landscape of ash and ruin. The colony was gone. 2 million people, including her mother and father, had been erased in a single night. Yuna stood in the ruins of her childhood home and made a promise. She did not cry. She did not scream. She simply decided that the ones who did this would pay. All of them. No matter how long it took, the news reached Earth within hours. Admiral Park Tae-ho received the report in his office at Fleet Command. He read it 3 times, hoping the words would change. They did not. 2 million dead. No warning. No declaration of war. The Council had simply decided to murder civilians to send a message. Park was 62 years old. He had spent his entire life in service to humanity. He had fought pirates, negotiated treaties, and kept the peace in a galaxy that barely noticed humanity existed. He had always believed that patience and diplomacy were the path forward. He had always counseled calm. Now he felt something he had not felt in decades. Rage. Pure, cold, absolute rage. He called an emergency meeting of Earth's leaders. Within 12 hours, the decision was made. There would be no diplomats sent to beg. There would be no negotiations. The Council had chosen war, and humanity would give them one. Park recorded the message himself. He sat in front of the camera in his dress uniform, his face carved from stone, his voice steady and final. To the Galaxy Council, he said, "You have attacked a civilian colony without provocation. You have murdered 2 million innocent people. You expected us to kneel. You expected us to beg for mercy. You were wrong." He paused, letting the words sink in. Humanity does not beg. Humanity does not forget. As of this moment, the United Earth Federation is at war with the Galaxy Council. We will not stop until justice is served. We will not negotiate. We will not show the mercy you denied our people. You wanted to teach us our place in the galaxy? His eyes seemed to burn through the screen. You are about to learn yours. May your gods have mercy on you, because we will not. The message was broadcast on every frequency, in every language, to every corner of the galaxy. Within minutes, it had been seen by billions. In the council chamber, High Arbiter Vorlin watched the recording with amusement. He turned to the other counselors and laughed. They declare war. These primitives. They have 300 ships. We have 30,000. Their technology is a century behind ours. What exactly do they think they can do? The other counselors joined his laughter. Even Yevrik seemed pleased. The humans had reacted with predictable emotion instead of wisdom. Now the council could crush them completely and take their worlds. It was better than he had hoped. Only Elder Morthax did not laugh. He sat in silence, his ancient mind remembering something he had read in the human archives. Humans had a history of war unlike any species the council had encountered. They had fought each other with terrible weapons. They had killed millions of their own kind and kept fighting. They had walked through fire and blood and emerged stronger, and now, for the first time in their history, they were united against a common enemy. Morthax looked at the laughing counselors and felt afraid. "We have made a terrible mistake," he whispered. No one heard him. 6 months passed after humanity declared war. In that time, nothing happened. No human ships attacked council space. No bombs fell. No soldiers invaded. The galaxy held its breath, waiting for a war that never seemed to come. High Arbiter. Vorlin grew bored of waiting. He had expected the humans to launch some foolish attack within weeks, giving the council an excuse to destroy them completely. Instead, they had gone quiet. Their trade ships stopped traveling through council space. Their diplomats returned home. Their borders closed. "They are hiding," Counselor Yevrik said during a council meeting. "They have realized their mistake. They know they cannot win, so they cower in their little corner of the galaxy and hope we will forget about them." Perhaps Vorlin agreed, or perhaps they are simply too primitive to organize a proper military response. Either way, they are no threat. We will deal with them when we feel like it. The council returned to its normal business. The war, if it could even be called that, was forgotten. But Elder Morthax could not forget. He spent his nights reading human history, studying their wars, trying to understand these strange creatures. What he found disturbed him deeply. Humans were not like other species. When faced with danger, most civilizations sought peace or surrender. Humans did the opposite. When pushed, they pushed back harder. When attacked, they did not just defend. They counterattacked with terrifying fury. He read about their world wars, conflicts that killed tens of millions. He read about their nuclear weapons, bombs that could destroy entire cities. He read about their soldiers, who would fight to the last breath even when victory was impossible, and he noticed something else. The deadliest thing about humans was not their weapons or their soldiers. It was their patience. Throughout their history, humans had shown an ability to wait, to plan, to prepare in secret, while their enemies grew confident and careless. The silence was not surrender. Morthax was certain of it. The silence was preparation. He tried to warn Vorlon, but the High Arbiter refused to listen. "You worry too much, old friend," Vorlon said. "The humans are finished. They simply do not know it yet." While the Council celebrated its victory over an enemy that had not yet fought, humanity worked deep beneath the surface of Earth's moon. Dr. Choi Hanna led a team of the greatest scientists humanity had ever produced. They worked in a facility that did not officially exist, building weapons that the galaxy did not know were possible. For decades, humanity had hidden its true technological capabilities. They had played the role of the primitive newcomers, letting the Council believe they were centuries behind. It was safer that way. It allowed humanity to grow in peace while the ancient species ignored them, but they had not been idle. "The quantum displacement drive is ready," Hanna announced to Admiral Park during a secure comm. "Unication. We can move entire fleets across hundreds of light years in seconds. The Council has nothing like it. They will not see us coming." Park nodded. "And the weapons?" "Antimatter warheads are in production. We will have enough to arm every ship within 4 months." Hanna paused, her face troubled. "There is also Project Phoenix. Tell me, it is a planet killer, Admiral. A single weapon capable of destroying an entire world. The science is complete. We can build it." She looked away. "The question is whether we should." Park was silent for a long moment. The Council had killed 2 million humans without hesitation. They deserved whatever humanity could give them. But did humanity want to become the kind of species that destroyed worlds? "Build it," he finally said. "But we will not use it unless we have no other choice. We are fighting for justice, not genocide. We will not become the monsters they think we are." Hanna nodded, relief visible on her face. "Understood, Admiral." Across the fleet, Captain Kim Yuna prepared for war. She had been promoted after Kepler 7b. Given command of the newest and most powerful ship in the human navy, the Iron Dawn, she trained her crew relentlessly, running combat simulations day and night until they could fight in their sleep. Every night. She looked at a photograph of her parents. Every night, she renewed her promise. The Council would answer for what they had done. General Lee Dae-Seung assembled the largest army in human history. 30 million soldiers volunteered in the first month alone. Humans from every nation, every background, every walk of life lined up to serve. The attack on Kepler 7b had united humanity in a way nothing else ever had. Lee trained them for planetary assault. Council species were physically larger and stronger than humans, but they had not fought a real war in thousands of years. Their soldiers were not soldiers at all. They were police officers, trained to control civilian populations, not to fight enemies who fought back. Humans, on the other hand, had been fighting each other for all of recorded history. War was in their blood. They were smaller and weaker, but they were meaner, faster, and far more creative. Lee was confident his soldiers would shock the Council when the time came. The most important work was done in the shadows. Commander Shin Woo-jen led a team of special operatives into Council space. They moved like ghosts, invisible and silent. They mapped every defense station, every military base, every supply depot. They identified weaknesses and planted monitoring devices. They also recruited. In every empire, there were those who resented their rulers. The Council had made many enemies over 50,000 years. Wu Jin found them, spoke with them, and brought them to humanity's side. By the time he returned to Earth, he had built a network of spies and saboteurs spread across Council space. "We know everything," he reported to Admiral Park. "Their fleet positions, their supply lines, their communication codes. When we strike, they will be blind and confused." Park smiled for the first time in months. "Good. It is almost time." On the day before the attack began, Admiral Park addressed humanity in a broadcast that reached every human in the galaxy. 6 months ago, the Council murdered 2 million of our people. They thought we would break. They thought we would beg for mercy. They were wrong. His voice grew stronger. "For 6 months, we have prepared. We have built weapons they cannot imagine. We have trained soldiers they cannot defeat. We have planned strategies they cannot anticipate. Tomorrow, we begin our answer to their crime." He looked into the camera with eyes of steel. "To every human listening, we fight not for conquest, not for revenge, but for justice. We fight so that no one will ever attack our people again. We fight so that our children can live in a galaxy that respects them. This will not be easy. Many of us will die, but we will win, because we are humanity and we do not lose." He paused. To the Galaxy Council, "You have had 6 months to prepare. It will not be enough. We are coming, and nothing in this universe will stop us." Across human space, soldiers checked their weapons. Pilots powered up their ships. Scientists made final adjustments to their inventions. Admiral Park gave the order. That would change the galaxy forever. Begin. First sign of trouble came at midnight on a peaceful world called Vesser Prime. It was a core council planet, home to 3 billion citizens and the largest military shipyard in the sector. Nothing had threatened it in 10,000 years. The communication officer on duty noticed something strange. The long-range sensors were showing unusual readings at the edge of the system. Before he could report it, the readings vanished. He shrugged and returned to his routine. 30 seconds later, 200 human warships appeared in orbit directly above the planet. They had not traveled through normal space. They had not been detected approaching. They had simply appeared, like ghosts, materializing from nothing. The quantum displacement drive worked exactly as Dr. Choi Hanna had promised. Admiral Park's voice came through on every frequency. "This is the United Earth Fleet. Your shipyard will be destroyed. Civilian vessels have 2 hours to evacuate. Any military ship that resists will be eliminated." The council commander on Nesser Prime laughed at the warning. 200 ships against the mightiest shipyard in the sector. The humans had gone mad. He ordered his defense fleet to engage. It was over in 40 minutes. Human weapons burned through council shields like they were made of paper. The antimatter warheads destroyed ships with single hits. The council vessels, designed to intimidate rather than fight, crumbled under the assault. Captain Kim Yuna led the attack from the bridge of the Iron Dawn. She had waited 6 months for this moment. Every time she fired a weapon, she thought of her parents. Every council ship that died was payment for what they had stolen from her. "Target the shipyard's main reactor," she ordered. 1 shot. Make it count. The Iron Dawn's main cannon fired. A beam of pure energy crossed the void and struck the shipyard's core. For a moment, nothing happened. Then the entire structure began to glow from within. The explosion was visible from the planet's surface. The shipyard, 3 kilometers of metal and technology that had taken centuries to build, ceased to exist in an instant. Across the galaxy, the same scene repeated itself. Human fleets appeared without warning at 17 strategic locations simultaneously. Communication relays were destroyed, cutting council worlds off from each other. Supply depots vanished in fire. Defense stations were at helm before they could even raise shields. The council had never faced an enemy that could be everywhere at once. Their entire military strategy depended on knowing where attacks would come from, on having time to respond. Against the quantum displacement drive, that strategy was useless. Fleet Master Thiessen received the news in the council chamber. His face went pale as he read report after report of destruction. 3 core worlds had gone dark. Contact had been lost with entire sectors. The defense fleet at the Outer Rim had been destroyed to the last ship. How is this possible? High Arbiter Vorlin demanded. "They are primitives. They have 300 ships. "They have more than 300 ships," Thiessen replied, his voice hollow. "Our intelligence was wrong. They have been building in secret, and their technology is not behind ours. It may be ahead of ours. Then send everything we have. Crush them with numbers." Thiessen shook his head. "We cannot find them, High Arbiter. They appear, strike, and vanish before we can respond. Our fleet is scattered across the galaxy trying to protect everything at once. We are being defeated in detail." For the first time in his long life, Vorlin felt fear. On the ground, The war was even more brutal. General Lee Dae-sung led the liberation of occupied human colonies. Council ground forces had been stationed on these worlds to maintain order, expecting no resistance. They were not prepared for what came. Human soldiers landed in waves, fearless and furious. They fought with a ferocity that the Council troops could not understand. When they ran out of ammunition, they fought with knives. When they lost their knives, they fought with their hands. They did not surrender. They did not retreat. They simply kept coming until the enemy was dead. On the colony of New Seoul, Lee personally led the assault against a Council garrison. The enemy commander, a veteran of 100 peacekeeping missions, watched the humans charge his position and felt something he had never experienced before: terror.
Ow.
"They are insane," he reported to his superiors. Moments before, a human soldier crashed through his window. "They fight like they are already dead and have nothing to lose." He was right. The humans had lost 2 million of their people. They had lost families and friends and children. What more could they possibly fear? The Council garrison on New Seoul surrendered after 6 hours. The garrisons on other colonies lasted even less time. Within 2 weeks, every occupied human colony had been liberated. Captain Kim Yuna earned her legend at the Battle of Voroth Station. Voroth was the Council's primary military command center, a massive space station that coordinated fleet movements across half the galaxy. Destroying it would cripple the Council's ability to fight back. Yuna took 40 ships against a station defended by 200. She should have lost. The numbers were impossible, but Yuna did not believe in impossible. She believed in her crew, her ship, and the fire that burned in her heart. The battle lasted 18 hours. Yuna used tactics that no Council commander had ever seen. She hid her ships behind asteroids and struck from unexpected angles. She sent false signals to confuse enemy targeting systems. She rammed damaged human ships into Council vessels, her crews evacuating seconds before impact. When Fleetmaster Thiessen finally arrived with reinforcements, found Voroth Station in ruins. 60% of the Council's command infrastructure had been destroyed. The coordinated defense of the galaxy was no longer possible, and carved into the hull of a crippled Council battleship, in letters 100 meters tall, was a message: "We are just getting started." Thiessen read the message and understood. This was not a war the Council could win. The humans were not fighting for territory or resources. They were fighting for revenge, and they would not stop until they had taken everything the Council had. He returned to the capital and delivered his report with the heaviest heart. "We are losing," he told the assembled councilors. "We have lost more ships in the past month than in the previous 1,000 years combined. Our supply lines are broken. Our communications are disrupted. Our soldiers are afraid." "Afraid?" Councillor Yevrik scoffed. "Of humans." "Yes," Thiessen said simply. "Of humans. They fight like no enemy we have ever faced. They are unpredictable, relentless, and they do not fear death. Every time we think we have them cornered, they escape and strike somewhere else. Every time we send a fleet to destroy them, they vanish, and that fleet is ambushed." He looked at Vorlin with eyes that held no hope. "Started this war thinking we would teach them their place. Instead, they are teaching us ours." In the silence that followed, only Elder Morthak spoke. "I warned you," he said quietly. "I told you not to provoke them. Humans do not fight like us. They do not think like us. They have spent their entire existence at war, first with each other, now with us. They have had thousands of years to perfect the art of destruction." He rose from his seat, his ancient body trembling. "You wanted to humble them. Instead, you have awakened something that should have been left sleeping. And now we will all pay the price." The Great Exodus began in the 3rd month of the war. For 50,000 years, the core worlds of the Council had been the safest places in the galaxy. Citizens lived their entire lives without ever seeing violence. They had forgotten what fear felt like. Now they remembered. Refugee ships clogged the space lanes. Fleeing from worlds that had suddenly become dangerous, stories spread faster than official news. stories of human fleets appearing from nowhere. Stories of human soldiers who fought like demons. Stories of entire military bases destroyed in minutes. The council tried to maintain order, but order was crumbling. On a dozen worlds, citizens demanded answers from their leaders. Why had the council attacked the humans in the first place? Why had they started a war they could not win? 2 million dead on a human colony had seemed like a small number. Now council casualties were in the tens of millions. And the number grew every day. High Arbiter Vorlin refused to appear in public. He spent his days in the council chamber, watching reports of defeat after defeat. His confidence had long since vanished. The laughter that had greeted humanity's declaration of war now seemed like the height of foolishness. Counselor Yevrix, the architect of this disaster, had stopped attending council meetings. He stayed in his private quarters, surrounded by guards, convinced that human assassins were coming for him. He was right to be afraid, Commander. Shin Wujin had been watching Yevrix for weeks. His network of spies had tracked the counselor's every movement. They knew his schedules, his habits, his weaknesses. They knew which guards could be bribed and which could be avoided. On a cold night in the 4th month of the war, Wu Jin made his move. He slipped through the security perimeter like smoke through fingers. His team disabled the surveillance systems without triggering alarms. They neutralized the guards with silent efficiency, leaving no witnesses. Yevrix was in his bedroom when the door opened. He looked up and saw a human standing in the darkness, dressed in black, face hidden behind a mask. "Who are you?" Yevrix demanded, reaching for his weapon. "I am Commander Shin Wujin of the United Earth Fleet," the human replied calmly. "You are under arrest for crimes against humanity. You will come with me." Yevrix tried to fight. He was larger than the human, stronger by the standards of his species. It did not matter. Wujin moved like water, dodging every blow, striking with precision that seemed impossible. In seconds, Yevrix was on the ground, bound and helpless. "Cannot do this," Yevrix gasped. "I am a counselor. The council will destroy you." "The council can barely defend itself," Wujin replied. "As for what I can and cannot do, that is no longer your concern." Yevrix was taken to the Iron Dawn, where Admiral Park waited. The counselor who had ordered the deaths of 2 million. Humans now stood in chains before the man who commanded their vengeance. Park studied Yevrix for a long moment. This was the face of arrogance. This was the creature who had looked at human children and seen nothing worth preserving. "You killed 2 million of my people," Park said quietly. "Families, children, you called us primitives. You expected us to kneel." He stepped closer, his voice barely above a whisper. "Tell me, counselor, do I look like I am kneeling?" Yevrix was tried by a human court. The trial was broadcast across the galaxy so that every species could see. Evidence was presented methodically. Survivors from Kepler-7b testified about what they had witnessed. The Council's own records, captured during the war, showed that Yevrix had planned the attack specifically to cause maximum civilian casualties. The verdict was unanimous. Guilty. Yevrix was executed by firing squad. His last words were a plea for mercy that no one granted. The footage of his death was watched by billions for the first time. The galaxy understood that humanity would not be satisfied with military victory. They wanted justice. And they would take it regardless of rank or power. Elder Morthax watched the execution with a heavy heart. He had opposed the war from the beginning. He had tried to stop it. But he was still a member of the council, still part of the institution that had caused this suffering. He decided to try one last time, too. End the bloodshed through secret channels. He arranged a meeting with a human representative. To his surprise, the human sent Dr. Choi Hanna, the scientist responsible for their most devastating weapons. They met on a neutral station at the edge of contested space. Morthax brought no guards. Hanna came alone. Two beings who represented civilizations at war, sitting across a table in an empty room.
"I'll write you."
"Thank you for meeting with me," Morthax began. "I want to find a way to end this." "So do we," Hanna replied, "but perhaps not in the way you hope. The council is prepared to negotiate. We will recognize humanity as equals. We will pay reparations for Kepler 7b. We will punish those responsible. Yevrix is already dead. Others, then? Vorlin himself, if you demand it. Whatever it takes to stop this war. Hannah shook her head slowly. You do not understand, Elder. Before Kepler 7b, we would have accepted those terms gladly. We wanted equality. We wanted peace. We would have been your partners, your allies. She leaned forward, her eyes hard. Bah. But you burned our colony. You murdered our children. You did it casually, without even declaring war, because you thought we were too weak to matter. Now we do not want equality. We want you to remember. Remember what? What happens when you attack humanity unprovoked? We want every species in this galaxy to know that if you harm our people, we will come for you. We will find you no matter where you hide. We will destroy everything you have built. And when we are finished, you will spend the next 10,000 years telling your children about the mistake you made. Morthax felt despair wash over him. Then there's no hope for peace? Hannah was silent for a moment. When she spoke again, her voice was softer, almost sad. There will be peace, Elder, when the Council surrenders unconditionally. When your fleets are dismantled, when the old order that allowed this crime to happen is gone forever, then there will be peace. You ask us to destroy ourselves. No, we ask you to let us destroy the system that created beings like Yevrix. The system that let you kill 2 million people because you were bored and arrogant. That system does not deserve to exist. She stood up. You seem like a decent being, Elder. I believe you opposed this war. So I will tell you something that you should not share with your council. Morthax waited. We have a weapon, Hannah said quietly. A weapon that can destroy planets. We have not used it because we do not want to become monsters. But if the council does not surrender, if this war continues to its bitter end, we may have no choice. She walked to the door and paused. Convince your people to stop fighting. Convince them to accept the terms we offer. Because if you do not, the galaxy will learn that there are worse things than defeat. She left without looking back. Morthax sat alone in the empty room for a long time. He thought about his civilization, his people, his children and grandchildren. He thought about all the lives that would be lost if the war continued. Then he returned to the council and told them everything. We must surrender, he said. We must accept their terms. Because if we do no, they will destroy us. Not just our fleets. Not just our stations. Everything. They will burn our worlds and salt the ground so that nothing grows again. Vorlin listened with a face like stone. Never, he said. The council does not surrender. We will fight to the last ship, the last soldier, the last breath. Morthax looked at the High Arbiter with something like pity. Then you have doomed us all. The final battle took place above the council's capital world, Fleetmaster. Thesan had gathered every ship the council had left. 8,000 vessels, the largest armada assembled in 10,000 years. It was everything they had, their last hope, their final stand. Opposite them, Admiral Park's fleet emerged from quantum displacement like an army of ghosts. 5,000 human warships, battered but unbroken, ready to end what the council had started. The two fleets faced each other across the void. Billions watched on screens throughout the galaxy. Everyone knew this would decide everything. Park opened a channel to the enemy flagship. Fleetmaster Thesan, this is your final opportunity to surrender. Order your ships to stand down, and we will show mercy. Thesan's voice came back, tired but resolute. I cannot, Admiral. The High Arbiter has forbidden surrender. We will fight, then you will die. Perhaps. But we will die with honor. Park felt a strange respect for his enemy. Thesan had not started this war. He had simply been ordered to fight it. In another universe, they might have been allies. Honor is not found in following unjust orders, Park said. But I understand your position. May you fight well, Fleetmaster. And you, Admiral. May the best species win. The communication ended. Park turned to his command staff. All ships, engage. The Battle of the Capital was the largest space battle in galactic history. 8,000 council ships against 5,000 human ships, surrounded by the debris of a dying empire. Captain Kim Yuna led the assault wing, her Iron Dawn at the front of a wedge of destroyers. They carved through the council formation like a blade, leaving burning hulks in their wake. "All ships, follow my lead," she ordered. "Target their command vessels. Cut off the head, and the body will fall." The council fought with the desperation of the doomed. They knew this was the end. Their civilization, their way of life, everything they had built over 50,000 years would be decided in the next few hours. Thesan commanded from his flagship, the Eternal Dawn, directing his fleet with the skill of a master tactician. He was not a fool. He knew his ships were outmatched in technology, but he had numbers. He had the determination of beings. Fighting for their homes, the battle raged for 12 hours. Ships died by the hundreds on both sides. The void filled with wreckage and frozen bodies. Human crews fought to the last breath, sometimes ramming their crippled vessels into enemy ships rather than retreat. Yuna's Iron Dawn was hit in the 6th hour. A council torpedo breached the hull, killing 30 crew members and destroying the secondary bridge. Smoke filled the corridors. Fire suppression systems failed. "Damage report," Yuna demanded. "Engines at 60%. Shields at 20%. Main cannons still operational, then we keep fighting." Her officers stared at her. The ship was dying around them. Any sane commander would retreat. "Captain," her first officer said carefully, "we should withdraw. The Iron Dawn cannot take much more." Yuna turned to face him. Her uniform was torn. Blood ran down her face from a cut above her eye, but her voice was steady as stone. "My parents died on Kepler 7b. 2 million people died because the council decided we were not worth respecting. I did not come here to retreat. I came here to finish this." She looked at her crew. "Anyone who wants to leave can take the escape pods. I will not think less of you, but I am staying until this is done." No one left. "Then let us show them what humans are made of." The Iron Dawn charged back into battle. In the 10th hour, Admiral Park made his move. While the main fleets fought, he had been positioning a strike force for a surgical attack on Thesan's flagship. "Commander Shin, are your teams ready?" Wujin's voice crackled over the channel. "Boarding parties standing by, Admiral." "Then go. Take that ship." 100 assault pods launched from human carriers. Screaming across the void toward the Eternal Dawn, Council Point defense guns tried to stop them, but there were too many. 60 pods made it through. 60 pods full of the deadliest soldiers humanity had ever produced. Wujin was the first through the breach. He led his team through corridors filled with smoke and fire, cutting down every defender who stood in their way. Council soldiers fought bravely, but they had never faced human special forces in close combat. It was not a fight. It was a slaughter. Wujin reached the bridge in 20 minutes. He kicked open the door and found Fleetmaster Thesan standing alone, his officers dead around him, a weapon in his hand. "Stop," Wujin ordered, his own weapon raised. Thesan did not fire. He looked at the human with something like curiosity. "You are the one who captured Yevrix," he said. "I have studied your tactics. You are very skilled. Surrender, Fleetmaster. It is over." Thesan nodded slowly. "Yes, it is." He dropped his weapon. "Yield." "What happens to my fleet now depends on your admiral, not me." Wujin took him into custody and signaled the human fleet. "Target neutralized. Fleetmaster Thesan is our prisoner." The news spread through both fleets like wildfire. The council flagship had fallen. Their commander was captured. Park broadcast on all frequencies. "Council forces, your fleet master has surrendered. Your flagship is captured. You have fought with courage, but this battle is over. Stand down your weapons, and no more lives need be lost today." For a long moment, nothing happened. The surviving council ships hung in space, uncertain. Then, one by one, they powered down their weapons. The Battle of the Capital was over. Humanity had won in the council chamber. High Arbiter Vorlin watched his empire die. The screens showed human ships taking position around the planet. The dream of galactic dominance that had lasted 50,000 years was finished. Elder Morthax stood beside him. "It is time, High Arbiter. We must accept their terms." Vorlin's voice was hollow. "I never thought it would end like this. We were the masters of the galaxy. We had ruled for longer than these humans have existed as a species. How did they defeat us?" "Because we underestimated them," Morthax replied. "Because we thought power meant we could do whatever we wanted without consequences. Because we forgot that even the smallest species can become dangerous when pushed too far." He placed a hand on Vorlin's shoulder. "Oh, but it is not too late to salvage something. The humans do not want to destroy us. They want justice and change. If we cooperate, our people can still have a future." Vorlin closed his eyes. When he opened them again, something had changed. The arrogance was gone. Only wariness remained. "Very well. I will surrender." The formal surrender took place on Admiral Park's flagship. High Arbiter Vorlin, once the most powerful being in the galaxy, knelt before a human and offered his unconditional submission. Park accepted with dignity. He did not gloat. He did not humiliate. He simply nodded and began outlining the terms. The council would be dissolved. A new galactic assembly would be formed, one where every species had an equal voice. Reparations would be paid to humanity. War criminals would be tried and punished, but there would be no genocide. No destruction of worlds. No revenge beyond justice. "You showed us no mercy," Vorlon said. "Why do you show it now?" Park looked at him steadily. "Because we are not you. We do not slaughter the helpless. We do not kill for pride. You started this war with cruelty. We will end it with justice." In the weeks that followed, the galaxy transformed. The old council species, humbled but alive, joined the new assembly as equals rather than masters. Humanity took its place among them, respected and feared in equal measure. Dr. Choi Hanna quietly decommissioned Project Phoenix. The planet killer was dismantled, its components scattered across 100 worlds. It had never been used. Humanity had won without becoming monsters. Captain Kim Yuna, now Admiral Kim, took command of a peacekeeping fleet. Her job was to ensure that no species would ever attack another unprovoked again. She carried out her duties with the same determination she had shown in battle. Commander Shin Woo-jin disappeared, as he always did. He would resurface whenever humanity needed him, then vanish again into the shadows. Some said he was still out there, watching for new threats. General Lee Dae-sung retired. He returned to the rebuilt colony of Kepler 7b, where a memorial stood for the 2 million who had died. He visited it every day, remembering the people whose deaths had started everything. Elder Morthax became an ambassador to Earth. He spent his final years trying to build bridges between species, ensuring that the mistakes of the past would never be repeated. Years later, a group of young aliens visited him, curious about the war. "What did you learn from fighting the humans?" one of them asked. Morthax was very old now, his body failing, but his mind was still sharp. He thought about the question for a long time. "The humans have a saying," he finally replied. "Do not mistake kindness for weakness." For centuries, they were kind. They traded fairly, kept their promises, caused no trouble. We thought this meant they were weak. We thought we could do whatever we wanted to them. He shook his head slowly. We were wrong. Their kindness was a choice, not a limitation. When we attacked them, when we proved we did not deserve their kindness, they showed us what they were truly capable of. And the galaxy will never forget the lesson. He looked out the window at the stars. "Be good to each other," he told the young aliens. "Treat every species with respect, no matter how small or young they seem, because you never know which one might be the next humanity." The young aliens left, their minds full of new thoughts, and across the galaxy, in 1,000 different languages. Parents told their children the story of how the humans went to war. It was a story of arrogance and consequence, of vengeance and mercy, of a young species that shook the foundations of the universe. It was a story that would be told for 10,000 years. just as humanity had promised.